Hi guys, in this video we're going to look at a prism, and so I'm going to give you the definition of prism first. A prism has two bases with parallelograms connecting them. Okay, so you've got two bases and there are parallelograms that connect them together. Now, we could have two different types of prisms. We could have a rectangular prism, or we could have any other kind of prism that might look like this. And based on what type of prism you have is which formula you're going to use. So if you have a rectangular prism, you're going to use this formula here. V equals L times W times H. L represents length. W represents the width. And H represents the height. Okay? So it would be length, width, and height. If you needed to mark that. Length, width, and height. If you have any other kind of prism other than a rectangular one, then your formula is V equals the base times the height. And note I gave you here, note, B is the base area. So like for this one, and I've kind of highlighted this in, I would have to find the area of this base. Now, a lot of times, like in this one, it looks like it's a rectangle. So area would be length times width. If it was a square, you would square one side to get the base area. So based on what your base is how you're going to calculate that base area B. And then the 8, or the H, is the height of the prism, okay? So let's look at some examples. Let's look at some examples of how we would use this, and I'm going to put that kind of right up at the top so we can see there. Okay, so these are my two formulas. So let's look at example 4 here. All right, example 4 looks like this rectangular one. So I know that I'm going to be using the V equals LWH formula because I have a rectangular prism. All right, so you'll notice here, my length is 15, my width is 3, and my height is 11. So basically it's plugging these numbers in. V equals 15 times 3 times 11. And then it becomes a calculator problem. So we're keying in our calculator, 15 times 3 times 11. And we get 495. So our volume is 495, and notice it's inches, and we do it 3 times multiplying. So that's going to be inches cubed. So anytime you have volume, again, it's going to be cubed, inches cubed. Okay, now, for number 5, you'll notice this does not look like a rectangular prism. It looks like this one, any other prism. So that means I'm going to have to use V equals base times height. That means that I have to come up with the base of this triangle. I've got to come up with the base, okay? So in order to come up with the base, we're going to have to figure out a few things, okay? We've got to figure out a few things. Now, it tells me that this right here is 3 inches, which means that if I go here, this is also going to be 3 inches. That's the same thing. Now, you also know that this is your height of your triangle. So I'm looking at, let me highlight this, what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this triangle right here. Looking at this one, okay? So for the base area of a triangle, the area of a triangle, and I'll write that here, the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Okay, now my base here is going to be 8, and my height is 3. So this area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 the base, which is 8, times the height, which is 3. Well, half of 8 is 4. And then 4 times 3 would be 12. So the area of my base is 12 inches squared. So if I go back to fill in my volume equals base times height, my base is 12. My height is given to me right here. It's that 14. So I'm doing 12 times 14. And at that point, I keyed in my calculator. 12 times 14, that's 168. So my volume here is 168 inches cubed. All right, let's look at another example. So again, in number 6, you can see we have a rectangular prism. So that means we're going to use V equals L times W times H, and you can mark these if you want. This is your length, this is your width, and this is your height. So we're going to plug those in. 12 times 9 times 10. All right, let's key that in our calculator. 12 times 9 times 10 is 1,080. So we get 1,080 inches cubed for that one. Okay, for number 7, this is not a rectangular prism, not like what we had over here. So you can see we've got triangles. Now I want you to notice that they have marked this, this, and this as being equal. That means this is an equilateral triangle, okay? It means all the sides are equal. So if that's the case and this side is 3 inches, that means that this side is also 3 inches. Now, why is that important? Because I need to know, I've got to get the area of this base here, which means I need to know this distance right here. I need to know this height. But if you'll remember, we create a right triangle here. So if this is a total of 3 inches and I divided this in half, this side is going to be 1.5 and this side is going to be 1.5. Now I need to know what this side right here is. That's the height of my triangle. I need to know that. So I can use the Pythagorean theorem here, which says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C squared is the side opposite your hypotenuse. So as long as I put this 3 as my hypotenuse, 3 squared equals, I'm looking for x plus 1.5 squared. Okay, 1.5 squared is 2.25. You can key that in your calculator. Plus the x squared equals, and 3 squared is 9. Okay, if I subtract 2.25, so 9 minus 2.25, that's 6.75 equals x squared. And then in order to find x, I've got to take the square root of that 6.75. So the square root of 6.75. Okay, I'm going to round to 1. So let's do 2.6, just 1 decimal place, the 10th place, 2.6. So we'll say that x equals 2.6 inches. So I have found the height of my triangle now. I needed that height in order to do 1/2 base times height. Because remember, I'm trying to get v equals the base times the height. So that means I need the area, the base area of this triangle. All right, so now I've found the height. The base is 3 inches. So the area of the triangle is 1/2 of 3 times h, and h I found to be 2.6. All right, if you key this in the calculator, half is 0.5, so I'm just going to put 0.5 times 3 times 2.6. We get 3.9. So this is 3.9 inches squared, and that is the base area here. So if I key this in, V equals, the base area is 3.9 times the height is given right here. That's my 12. So then I'm going to key this in, 3.9 times 12. That gives me a volume of 46.8 inches cubed. All right, guys. This is basically taking formulas and plugging them in. So if you have any questions, please let me know.